I'm gonna be honest with you, I never imagined I would make something like this on Vars 1. Overall on Vars 2, since I cover multiple games, I always get people asking me to make videos on like what Genshin does better than MUA or what HSR does better than ZZZ. But the more I thought about it, there's actually an opportunity to do one between League and Wild Rift. For the longest time ever, I always saw Wild Rift as a diet bootleg version of League, just a watered down iteration of it to make it more suitable for mobile users. Kind of like how, say, Fire Emblem Heroes is a watered down version of the actual Fire Emblem games, and by extension, any mobile game spin-off of an existing franchise. But after making my two videos on differences between Wild Rift Champions and League, the more I began to notice, hang on a minute, what if Wild Rift is better than League? I know that's a broad statement to make and the two games are fundamentally different in a lot of ways, but like I said in the aforementioned videos, I feel like a ton of champions could benefit from having their Wild Rift iterations, either for quality of life purposes or something to that effect. Perhaps that applies to multiple things in Wild Rift, so for today I wanted to make a video on 5 things Wild Rift does better than League. Depending on how well this video goes, I might make one on the inverse too. We'll see. Number 1. Better boot system. When I saw this, I was like, yes, why can't they just give this to us in League? Wild Rift has usual boots like Tappy, Smirk Treads, Lucidity and whatnot, but they go above and beyond with these items. For one, they're actual items. Boots in League are just an increase in tempo followed by an extra small thing on top of it. By and large, they're more of accessory items and people have expressed that they should not take up a full spot in your inventory. Wild Rift doesn't really have that issue. Take a look at Zergus for instance. It's 1400 gold, so a tad bit more expensive, but it gives 20 AD, 35% attack speed, 45 move speed, and you get an 8 HP heal on hit. Compared to main, Mobile Zergus has a lot more oomph to it. This applies to all boots. Ninja Tabby for example, yes I still call it that, gives 150 health, 100% health regen, and 35 armor, and it also reduces physical damage from all sources. Now considering how traumatized people are by Tabbies on main, being a busted item as it is, imagine if we had this one, holy crap. In fairness, items on mobile are balanced around the landscape of mobile, so if they were to hypothetically ever get ported over to main, they would have to get balanced accordingly, because that amount of stats for only 1350 gold would break the game instantly. But conceptually speaking, I love how boots are as good as actual items. Or maybe not as good as a full completed item, but certainly a lot less of a fake item like it is on main. More interestingly, they have a greater variety of boots. For example, Boots of Dynamism gives 10 armor penetration. Armor pen boots have been highly requested ever since the dawn of time, since it would only be fair considering mages get sword shoes. Speaking of which, oh my god, the Boots of Mana, 55 ability power, 150% mana regen, and 8 magic pen. That is basically a full item. Every AP champion would cream themselves if they could buy this on main. There's also Gluttonous Greaves, 7% Omnivamp. That one might not fly on main, I don't think. Riot's been really hesitant to add Omnivamp and whatnot ever since the Ultra Sustain meta we had back when Ravenous Hunter was a thing and Doran's Blade gave Omnivamp, but you get the point, boots are actual items in this game. What's even crazier is that you can purchase from a wide assortment of enchantments too. They have like 15 different ones you can buy in addition to your boots. You could literally buy the Gore Drinker active and add it to your boots, like just the Gore Drinker active, or you could buy Locket and add it to your boots, Ravenous Hydra, or technically it's not really Ravenous Hydra, it's actually like a 9-second buff that gives you Tiamat essentially, kind of like old Malphite W before they turned it into a cone. You could give yourself Righteous Glory, Gale Force, QSS. That one I'm actually on board with. People don't like buying QSS because despite how fantastic of an active it is, relinquishing an entire item slot for it is seldom if ever worth it. But if you could add QSS to your boots, that would be a perfect solution. Now before you go, adding actives to your boots would be overpowered. If everyone gets to have it, then that could encourage a lot of build diversity in my opinion. Some champions really want to take advantage of a certain item active but don't necessarily want the stats that come with it. I for one would love to have the Gargoyle Stoneplate enchantment seeing as I play champions who dive into the enemy team, but I sure as hell never wanted to buy Gargoyle Stoneplate back when it was still an item. That being said, some of these could be frustrating to deal with. Imagine all 5 members of a team buying the Sonya active. Riot took away Stopwatch for a reason. Once again though, as a concept, I think this is an awesome opportunity to make boots feel like an actual item and even introduce build variety and personal expression, which I feel is sorely missing in present day League. Number 2. Peak ARAM. We all love ARAM, even the ranked only fiends like myself enjoy a good ARAM here and there. ARAM's always had a lighthearted vibe to it, courtesy of there being constant action in the form of teamfights, short game times, and no real consequences to losing, so people don't take losing that seriously. Plus, no real need for macro and ARAM being one lane and all. Now, I've been told that ARAM in Wild Rift has augments. Yes, the selfsame ones that make Arena so chaotic and fun. I'll confess, I don't play Arena. I probably should. It's just not really my cup of tea. Arena augments on the other hand look like a ton of fun to have in ARAM. There are hundreds of augments in Arena that can make your champion go crazy, ranging from stat bonuses to casting certain champion abilities on demand. I would love to see that in ARAM. It may even lead to some interesting interactions and be a form of balance in and of itself. As you know, certain champions are unsurprisingly overpowered in ARAM like Brand, Karthus, etc. since you're in a 5v5 cluster the entire time. Conversely, some champions are pretty lousy in ARAM like Evelynn. If you could attach a certain ability to that champion, that might be all we need to make them 10 times better. It can also work to dampen the impact of team comps. The one time ARAM can feel sucky to play is when you have, say, a team of 5 projectile users and the enemy team has Yasuo, Braum, and Samira. Not the funnest experience, I'm sure. But with augments, we can really kick up the absurdity of the game mode. I think I speak for many of us, whether ARAM 1-tricks or casual ARAM players, when I say I'm all for augments being added to it. Number 3, they do crazy shit every season. For those who watched my piece on the main problem with League and how there hasn't been any real ambitious or meaningful shakeups to the game in a long time, that's something I wish they would be more willing to do again. Wild Rift does, they still like to do crazy shit every year. In 2024, I believe they added the T-Hex mecha, or T-Rex, this mountable playable champion that spawns whenever you kill Baron. Essentially, a champion can ride the mecha and gain a new set of abilities when on top of it that could do some weird stuff. I'm not familiar with the actual interactions, but judging from in-game clips though, it definitely appears to be something that replaces your abilities and you can mess around with it, with its own properties and moves. That is awesome! This, in my opinion, could be a way more fun system than Rift Herald. It looks absurd, and it probably is, but that might be just what we need in League. I remember when people first saw Shelly, they thought it was a stupid gimmick, and now Shelly's a part of the game like she's always been there. We already have the recent iteration where we can literally go inside Shelly and steer her into a tower. I don't see how the T-Hex would be much different. In my personal opinion, casual and competitive-based things are not mutually exclusive. You can have something that looks like it would be a casual-only thing also working competitive. The only thing differentiating the two is balance. Like the recent Arena is a casual game mode is because there's no rhyme or reason to it. Everything's just crazy overpowered. But that doesn't mean you can't make a casual thing competitive, and I feel like Riot's become too timid about trying something like this. I am aware that Wild Rift is more of a fun project for Riot to do and not a major part of their portfolio, especially when taking into account League's massive esports scene. But seeing as what they've been doing for the past 3 years hasn't really been working, I feel like they should maybe take a page from Wild Rift and do stupid shit again. Number 4, better engine. Probably not as big of a deal for most people, and in Defensive League, we're talking about a game that was built and made in 2009 compared to one that came out in 2020. But for what it's worth, Wild Rift has a much better infrastructure overall. To start, the mobile version was made using Unity and likely has been set up using the 10 plus years of experience Riot had with the main game. The game runs a lot smoother, obviously, while with it being mobile, the client and user interfaces are also a lot better, and they also took the liberty to optimize it pretty well. One major feature someone pointed out that I noticed while looking through footage is that whether you're on blue or red side, you're always oriented as if you were blue side because unlike main, Wild Rift is perfectly symmetrical. It's been a long-standing issue concerning League where the blue side has an ever so slightly higher win rate for multiple reasons, but one of which is definitely the incongruity and isometric view between blue and red side. One has to look top down while the other has to look bottom up, despite bottom up technically having more viewing real estate even with the per side camera offset. Also, there's no Z-axis elevation on Wild Rift, everything is even terrain so you don't have that low ground high ground frustration people have to deal with on main. In totality though, it's just a far smoother experience based on what I've heard. The devs are able to add more to the game since the engine is built to support many of those things. For example, the champion select screen lets you take a look at the champion model before the fight and even check out how skins look in a more elaborate and detailed fashion than just a screenshot. More things would be how you can customize the menu in your profile more to your liking, how you can directly import builds by the best players of any given champion, something you can only do in League using a third-party software like Professor or Blitz. Everything just looks cleaner too from a visual perspective. To League's credit, Riot's been giving art and sustainability updates to as many champions as possible, but they're still lagging pretty far behind. Meanwhile, every champion looks nice in Wild Rift, and while not much of a skins guy except for when I get a free one, skins look a lot better in Wild Rift than they do in League, likely because the engine and models can support so much more. People have also told me the servers are more optimized too, like how people on mobile get 10 less ping on average. Granted, League isn't super ping intensive compared to, say, a fighting game where reactions come down to literal frames, but it does play a role in making things more streamlined. For that matter, there's also a lot of accessibility quality of life in Wild Rift. I can't go over all of them, but one change in particular I think is awesome is that you get a clear indicator of when your champion's auto attack will last hit a minion, making it so you don't have to know the numbers down to the T to figure out how to last hit, especially on non-AD champions. Number 5, better rank system. I've had a lot of comments mention the rank system being way different in Wild Rift compared to how it is on main. First, they don't use the traditional LP and MMR system, instead you get marks. And you need a certain amount of marks to progress in rank, increasing in number for every rank you get through. For example, in Bronze you only need 3 marks to go between tiers, but in Emerald you need 5. Winning games will give you marks, losing games will lose marks. Past Emerald though, marks turn to victory points, kind of like LP. But the main difference here is that the reward system is based on how well you did, not whether you won or lost. In other words, if you won a game but played like ass, you get less points than if you were 1v9ing the game. Conversely, if you lose the game but you did the best you could, you lose less points. It's case-by-case basis. Essentially, you can't piggyback off the performance of your teammates. If you're winning games, but in those games you're always the worst performing member of your team, you won't get very far. At lower ranks, you can also prevent yourself from getting demoted by playing well through rank 42 points, an extra feature that basically protects you from demotion. It bears repeating, I haven't played it myself, but from what I've heard from people who played both League and WoD Rift, the latter has a far more intuitive system and a better experience overall in ranked. The matchmaking system in League, including stuff like MMR, is one of the most nonsensical things of all time, so I feel like once again anything would be better than what we currently have. Being someone who plays only ranked most of the time, I wonder how much it would benefit the main game if we imported WoD Rift's ranking system and gave it a try for a split. Personally, based on observation, the thing I really enjoy most about WoD Rift would definitely be how they still try to improve and make bold decisions, best example being the boot system. If you showed this to a League-only player, they think you're crazy adding stuff like Omnivamp boots or letting you upgrade them into a Gore Drink or a GLP active. But like I've been stressing in several videos this year, the game's kinda stale right now. When I heard you can ride a friggin' T-Rex after killing Baron, that seems like something you'd only find in Nexus Blitz or something, but if you think about it, there's no rule saying you can't add something like that to a competitive environment. I'm sure if we showed the current Rift title to people back in 2014, they'd call us filthy casuals too. Overall though, WoD Rift does a couple of things better. Champions have better quality of life or aspects to them that make a lot more sense. Skins look better, models look better, client works better, items are more creative and fun. They do crazy updates even if some of them may not be that good, but they do it anyway. T-Hex, Ice Dragon, I heard there's even an enchanted piggy they added a couple months ago. Some people might try to argue that WoD Rift can get away with being more silly and imaginative in its updates because the mobile gaming market is inherently more casual, and I agree to that to some extent. People are more receptive to these wacky changes because people generally just don't take things as seriously in WoD Rift, but try to think about it like this. Currently, League of Legends, the base game, is actively hemorrhaging players both in ranked and normals in favor of their more casual game modes like TFT and Arena. Evidently, there's discontentment with the current game. Maybe that's what we need to work on. By bringing the casual fanbase back to the game, that could have a positive knock-on effect in competitive as well. At least that's what I think. What about you guys? Do you think WoD Rift is onto something here that League should follow by example, or do you believe they're two separate games and should remain that way? Let me know in the comments down below. That's all for today though, so if you enjoyed the video, a like and subscribe would be much appreciated. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Vars or join my Discord server, and why not check out my first 2 videos on WoD Rift if you haven't yet. But till next time, thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.